This is Kerrigan and Company. I have to tell you, folks, I think lighting in your home is one of the most important things that you can do to keep the house updated. And when I need new lighting, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. Their spectacular 10,000 square foot showroom inside a beautiful mansion in Lynn, Massachusetts is decorated with both architectural and decorative lighting in every single style. From crystal and traditional to contemporary and modern, the selection is absolutely unmatched. Whenever I'm looking for new lighting, as I mentioned, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. And when I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for, I rely on the expert guidance of their design team. I know that they can help me. Learn more and book your appointment today. It's Lucia Lighting. Hi, everybody. This is Kim. Coming up on today's episode, it's books, barbecue, and reboots. Kerrigan and Company is next.
Kerrigan and Company is here for you. Yes, Kerrigan and Company is here for you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Kerrigan and Company. So good to have you with us today. And boy, do we have a lineup for you. Yes, we're talking about books, we're talking about barbecue, and then we're going to talk about reboots. How about that? But we'll start with books. And I'm so happy to have a longtime friend of mine. I've known Dave Wedge for, I think probably since I've worked in the Boston area. He is a New York Times best-selling author. He has a new book out right now, and I'm going to show it to you here in just a second. It's called Blood and Hate, and Dave Wedge is with me today. It's so good to see you.
You too, Kim. Always great to see you.
I didn't want to put a time limit on how long you and I have known each other because that makes us sound old, but we've known each other for a while.
Yes. I started at the Boston Herald in 1999, and I think you were probably anchoring at that point.
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
We met out on the streets covering news stories over the years. It's great to stay connected. And I'm happy for what you're doing now. It's amazing.
Thanks so very much.
Yeah, it's great.
And I was just tickled pink when I heard about the new book, which is book number 7?
Seven. Technically 8. So
okay.
We'll call it book 8.
Okay, book number 8 for you, sir.
Yeah. It's been a good run, and this is actually the first one. Well, the second one that I've written completely solo. 5 of my books I wrote with Casey Sherman, as you know, and then my last book, which was about bikers, I wrote with one of the actual bike police officers who infiltrated a bike gang. So this one here, passion project, labor of love, Marvin Hagler. I grew up in Brockton, and I just wanted to tell Marvin's story once and for all. So that's what I've done. Yeah.
So it's the name of the book, Blood and Hate.
Yep.
But it's the story of Marvin Hagler, the marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Yeah.
The boxer, and I've been reading excerpts of it and following you talking about this book, and I understand why you had a passion for it. But tell me when you got started on this and how you developed incredible conversations. You've really dug into this book.
Yeah, so look, I grew up in Brockton. My dad was Rocky Marciano's paperboy,
Really?
Everyone that comes from Brockton, their dads knew Rocky, and the sons my age met Marvin over the years. And now that I've done this book, I'm seeing people every day like, I used to see him at this bar, and I used to see him at this restaurant, and he hung out in the North End a lot. And so, but I knew that there was never really a full exploration of Marvin and his essence and his legacy, and I knew all these stories about him over the years. I actually wanted to write it with him when he was alive. He passed away in 2021, right toward the tail end of COVID. And he wasn't interested in doing it. A lot of people that know Marvin Hagler's career, he kind of had a little dark period after he lost to Sugar Ray Leonard. He had some problems with his wife, and they had a high-profile divorce, and there was some domestic violence stuff that went on. And I just think he didn't want to go back and visit that. He also didn't want to go back and visit the Leonard fight. He was very angry about that decision. For those that don't know, he lost a very controversial title defense in 1987 to Sugar Ray Leonard. Everyone in Brockton knows he won the fight. I think everyone in Boston knows he won the fight. But it is what it is. So after he passed away, I was just finishing my last book, and I just thought, now's the time.
Yeah.
And I started digging in, hitting the streets, doing my research.
A couple of things that just really strike me. First is that there's 2 champion boxers from Brockton. Isn't that interesting?
Not just champions. Arguably the 2 of the best in their weight division of all time.
Right.
Marvin Hagler pound for pound. I interviewed Bob Arum for this book, who's the greatest fight promoter of all time, him and Don King, and he says Marvin's his favorite fighter of all time. He loved Marvin more than anyone, thought he was the perfect fighter. A lot of people say that about Rocky Marciano as well, that he was, the greatest heavyweight of all time, or one of them. So it's pretty incredible. And I think when you read the book, there's a lot of parallels between why they were both the way they were. It's that grit, it's that hard work, it's that Brockton spirit. Why I wrote this book, it's really just, business, take care of business and be loyal and, never give up.
Marvin's story is really a fascinating one because he didn't get the recognition right off the bat that he probably deserved. And he was always boxing in the shadow of Sugar Ray Leonard.
That's right. And this book is really, I tell people, it's about two things. It's about how Marvin became marvelous.
Yep.
And it's also about the Alan Minter fight that we talked about a little while ago.
Right.
One of the most controversial fights that's ever happened. And it resulted in this iconic photo where after Marvin won the title in London, he was pelted with bottles and there was a riot. And a lot of, young people, when they see this, like, I can't believe that happened.
Right.
But it did. And, Marvin's story really was something I learned writing the book was I knew he had originally been born in Newark, but I didn't know how long he lived there. And he lived there till he was 15 years old. So that's a big part of his origin story. And that's really what my book is about, is that origin story of what made Marvin marvelous, how he got out of Newark. Newark in 1967 to 68, when the family left, was a really violent place.
Right.
Horrible riots. Makes what's been going on in L.A. look like kindergarten. I mean, there's 26 people killed in a weekend in Newark, New Jersey. The city was a war zone, and then they came to Brockton, and that's when he got on his path to greatness.
And he came about as a kid who really was fighting for everything he could possibly get. I know there's quotes about how he showed up, trying to get somebody to train him, and his shoes had holes. And I mean, he came from nothing.
They were really
fighting
poor.
His way out.
When they left Newark, New Jersey, his mother had 6 kids. 5 of them were hers. One was one of her boyfriend's kids. And she sent Marvin and 2 of his siblings on a bus, and they took a bus to Brockton. They had never been to Brockton.
Wow.
And they got dropped off at the downtown bus station. They went to their aunt's house on the north side of the city, and then Mom drove up in a U-Haul with the 2 younger kids, or the 3 younger kids, and that's really how he started. They had no dad, very poor. There was a lot of dysfunction in the family. They came from a very dysfunctional background, a lot of divorce, a lot of alcoholism, a lot of unemployment, and coming from a city like Newark that was falling apart, boom, they're dropped in Brockton. Suddenly he's in this world, doesn't know anyone, doesn't know what to do, and he makes his way into the Petronelli Brothers gym.
Which is amazing, There's so much more to talk about the book, and we're going to talk more about that in just a bit. We've got a great show.
Awesome.
Today. I'm very excited about it. Andy Husbands is going to be with us, of course, one of the great chefs.
Great friend, great chef, best barbecue in town.
And we're also going to be talking with a face that I know lots of people are going to recognize. We won't say who it is, but lots of folks are going to recognize this individual who is going to talk to us about a reboot of a show that was so incredibly popular at the time and has become more popular over time. So,
I'm excited.
There's our tease. There you go. All right. So stay with us, everybody. This is Kerrigan and Company.
Have you tried Rumson rum yet? This smooth, sweet, memorable rum is distilled in the Caribbean, barreled aged, and then blended, finished, and bottled in Salem, Massachusetts. Rumson's offers 4 unique blends: Gold, Spice, Grand Reserved, and Coffee. Before you start to sip or mix your next cocktail, ask yourself, do I want to enjoy New England's most awarded rum brand? If the answer is yes, the answer is Rumson's. Get Rumson's rum at liquor stores or ask for it by name at your favorite restaurant. Rumson's. Life lived, life enjoyed.
From the excitement of Munchkinland to the Wicked Witch's castle, it's The Wizard of Oz, live on stage from July 8th through July 20th, only at North Shore Music Theater. Get tickets at nsmt.org.
This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company. So glad that Dave Wedge is keeping me company today. We're having a good time.
Awesome. Great to be here,
It's
Kim.
great to have you here. So excited about this New York Times best-selling author who's got another book out that is just so fantastic. I'm so excited about it. We'll talk, when we wrap up, we'll talk a little bit more about the book.
Great.
But speaking of books, our next guest, we asked you, we said, who do you think we should have on today with you as a guest? And you suggested this guest. So I'm going to let you introduce this guest.
Sure.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about his books as well.
Sure. So my good friend, Andy Husbands. Andy and I connected a few years ago because he's got a lot of great stories. He's written many cookbooks, one of which you have there. But really, the way I really started to love Andy was before the pandemic, I was working in an office. I had an office down in Fort Point. And I stumbled in a smoke shop when it first opened. And I started working in there a lot, and I started writing books. I wrote a couple of my most recent books. I wrote several chapters in Andy's place, got to know Andy a little bit. And, for those who haven't been, I mean, best barbecue around.
Oh.
I love barbecue. And then I learned about his barbecue journey, which is why we really started talking and becoming friends.
Sure.
But I thought today would be a great chance to have Andy come in and talk about his story a little bit and all the books you've done and what you're working on.
Andy, great to see you.
Happy to be here.
We are so glad you're here. When you walked in immediately, I said, you and I have met before.
Yes.
I have interviewed you through the years a number of times. I worked at...
Celebrity chef.
He's a celebrity chef, so I mean...
Whatever that's worth.
It feels like it's worth a lot to me, Andy. I want you
It's
to
worth
know.
$15 wings.
Exactly.
I have
12.
also been to the Seaport location, a smoke shop. Oh my gosh, it's off the charts.
The best.
I am originally from Missouri. I don't know if you know this. So Kansas City. My husband went to law school in Kansas City, whatever. We spent a lot of time there. So we know a thing or two about barbecue.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I've been to a lot of places this way, and there's very few that are really all that great. You serve good barbecue.
Well, I am honored. There's some other great places around Massachusetts that everybody should check out as well.
Well.
But thank you. We are very passionate about what we do.
Yeah, and we're talking about the one in the Seaport, but there's others.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 7 others. In fact, I'm just coming off a 6-month opening 3 restaurants.
Where are the new ones?
The new ones, Methuen, Woburn, and we just opened Chelmsford.
How did you pick those towns?
So, I mean, it's like looking for a house. You get a lot of offers or a lot of places to look at, and we like the town. That's what's most important to us. So, and when we started looking at Methuen, we're going to look at the space, of course, but we're going to spend time in the town. We're going to spend time going to the restaurants, talking to the people. We want to make sure there's a need, a desire, and then it fits kind of what we want and to be part of a community.
Dave mentioned it, your barbecue journey, which is so interesting because you have won awards all over the country and internationally as well, correct? I mean...
Yeah, and I want to be just real clear because I always like to say this. I'm on a team. It's called IQ, and I'm a founder of that team. But our team leader is a guy named Chris Hart, and he's amazing. I'm just there to help out a little bit and do a little stuff here and there. But
I think you're humble, by the way.
Well,
Chris is great.
He's our Tom Brady. I just want to, look, I don't want to take his glory. He's earned everything, and he's also my co-author in that book and my best friend. And we went to high school. Go Rockets, need 'em.
Okay, so now you've brought it all back to where I was going to go with this. So when you go out and people find out that, like for example, you're in in Tennessee, right? Didn't you win something big there in Tennessee?
Yeah, we won the Jack, which is the World Championships of barbecue.
The Jack Daniels. So they look at you and they go, "You're from New England. What are you doing here, dude? What do you know about barbecue?"
Yeah, and that still happens. But we had gone about 9 times before we won. So by the time then, but the first time we went, and we acted like arrogant New Englanders in the beginning.
How old were you on that first one, Andy?
I don't even know. We were probably 30. No, like 30, late 20s.
Chris went together?
Chris and I, the first time, and it's a group of like 7 to 9 friends that go. We have a team.
Yep.
Everybody has a role. And... you get a little of that. But what's interesting, and when people say, "I can't believe there's good barbecue in Massachusetts,"
right?
I understand what they're saying, and I understand the premise. But with that same premise, then there couldn't be good Japanese. Nor French, right?
Like no good Italian here,
right? But we have it all. We have fantastic places, and it's really barbecue. I'll talk specifically is what I know. It's a craft, and you need to do the work.
Okay, so having said that, what makes good barbecue?
Passion. It's really it's a long process, as we all know. It takes slow and low. It takes a long time. It's just cooking it right, seasoning it right, and serving it correctly, and it's that simple.
How did you learn to do it right? I know it's trial and error, but was there a mentor? Was it Chris? Was it research? Is there someone that came to you and was like, Andy, this is really good, but you can do it even better, and here's how?
I think, and when we're talking about competition and restaurant, those are two different things.
Right.
And then home, of course. Really, it's trial and error, and it's really doing the reps. In the sport of barbecue, you got to do the work. If you want to win the marathon, you've got to run. So our team cooked a lot, and it's just trial and error and trial and error. Now, for the restaurants, I had a pretty good idea at this point. We'd been competing for a long time, and so I kind of designed the food for what I thought would be best for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So it's hard.
Is it about the cut of meat as well? And are you really particular about that? Or do you believe you can turn anything into good barbecue?
Well, I'd love to think I could turn anything. But for us at the restaurant, we're very, very, very specific on what we buy. Like, it has to be a certain style of brisket, which has to have a certain shape to it. Because cows don't all yield the same brisket, right? So there can be different shapes to it. And there's a certain thing that we like. Same thing with ribs. We want them to have a certain amount of meat, not to what they call shiners. That's where the knife runs on the bone, so you see more bone than meat. Different things like that. And so you deal with the farms and the producers, and you find out who you want to buy from and work the best deal you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Do you enjoy what you do?
Oh my gosh. I love every minute of it. It's hard, but I don't mean that in a bad way. And by the way, people say, "Oh, you own a restaurant, it must be so hard." I think writing books sounds harder than what or being a nurse or being a doctor. Those seem like hard jobs. I love it. We have such an amazing team. And during the pandemic was fascinating to watch because, I got to see people at their best. And I got to see people really take care of each other and our guests and work together. Those things it's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Andy, does anybody ever invite you over to their house for a barbecue?
Yes.
And if they do,
yes, they want me to bring it.
Yeah, exactly. I can only imagine. I mean, I would be absolutely nuts if I thought you were coming to my house and we were putting it on the grill.
I know people say that, and I think I think about it. I don't get a lot of invites. I'm a nice guy.
Well, that's intimidating. It's like I don't want to invite Andy over to write books in my house.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. It's a little bit. Look, chefs are people. We like to eat food. And what we appreciate is when other people cook for us.
I bet.
I'd love to mention this thing about a brisket, because we'll go back to the brisket.
Yeah.
What I think this interesting thing is, if Dave invited me over and Dave cooked a brisket, what I know is that the bare minimum is that he spent somewhere between 14 to 18 hours of his time, his energy, his love into that brisket.
Yep.
And it's such an honor. Nobody cooks a brisket for themselves.
Right.
So it's such a cool premise. And so if someone was to invite me over and they've spent that time, whether it's burgers, which is quicker than that,
sure,
I'm honored.
I'll make you a steak. I don't think I'd risk making your brisket.
Yeah, that's scary.
That
would be scary.
Let me ask you this, Andy. You're around my age. You've done a lot. You've done competitions. You've written books.
Yeah.
You've been on TV. What's kind of the coolest thing you've experienced in this whole chef life that you've had?
I've gotten some really good trips. And given to me, a bike ride through Provence, a trip to Iceland. But one that wasn't given to me, but I went on is, and I don't want to cry, but they recently passed Jasper White, who is a dear friend of mine, invited myself and a bunch of other chefs to go to China to eat the hairy crab. And that's not a metaphor. I'm not a euphemism. I mean, it's really there's something called a hairy crab. And so we went to China, went all over, spent about 2.5 weeks there. And it was just incredible, not just because the food was incredible, and not just because the people were incredible, but spending that time with Jasper and really getting just walking around the Forbidden City for 3 hours and talking to him.
Absolutely.
When was this? How long ago?
Geez, this might have been about 12, 13 years ago.
That's
wow.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
It was really special.
What was the hairy crab like?
Yeah, what exactly is a hairy
Explain this
crab?
to us.
It's a hard shell crab that has it almost looks like moss, or it looks like algae or seaweed. That's kind of what it looks like.
I got you.
It was really, really good and very simply done.
And clearly only available in China.
Yes, in this one area in China.
Was it amazing?
Yeah, it was absolutely delicious. It was fantastic.
What is a great meal for you?
It used to be, when I was young, I used to love going for, you know, a 20-course meal and doing that whole rigmarole. I don't know if it's because I'm old or tired, but you know, a good bowl of ramen is really good for me. My wife and I eat a lot of fish and vegetables, so just grilling in the backyard with my family. I have 7-year-old twins, so daughters, and they're amazing. So just being with them, to me, look, big shout out. I went to Burton's the other night, and it was awesome. I like Burton's. It's a great place.
Sure.
And they do a great job, and it's great for my family. So for me, it's being with the people I love and enjoying a good conversation, you know.
Yeah,
and some good
you know,
food.
meals for me too. I mean, I love good food and I appreciate good food, but food for me is more about a social event, really.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
I that's what it's all about for me. Atmosphere in a restaurant, and I can have a decent meal and have great atmosphere, and I thought it was great.
Well, that's what I loved about what you said about the brisket. It's like, it's a communal thing.
Right.
You know, like, I'm going to make a brisket. Everyone come over and we listen to music. We hang out. We talk. We catch up. Like, you're slowing down. You're taking time. You're having some drinks, you know.
Yep.
That's a good way to be. But I want to ask you, you know, for your, you know, your birthday, where do you like to go? Like, do you have some, I know you don't want to pick favorites, but do you have some go-tos of your favorite places to go around?
Sure. And I live in the northern suburbs. We have had an amazing experience at Row 34 in Burlington. And you know, the hospitality is fantastic, and the food is great. And again, and I hate to keep saying this, but my children, they love it too, and so that's important to me, right? But no shame in the game. Love the 99. You know, let's give me some popcorn, some steak tips, and I'm good, right?
Right.
So, and you know, to me, it's a lot about hospitality, and that's really what I want to. It's that feeling that you get when you're there, you know, and that you feel welcomed, and that you feel like, oh, they appreciate us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not saying people are like the opposite, but you know when that happens, and hospitality can be that intangible thing.
I have to ask you this too. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Do you have a favorite celebrity chef? Do you have any of those chefs that you really like and think are really, they deserve that celebrity status?
What a great question. Let me give me 1 second. And because I don't mention other ones doesn't mean that they are less than.
Of course.
But for me, I mean, I always loved Yan Can Cook. Martin Yan. We actually went to his restaurant in China. I thought he's just funny, but really talented. He came to my school when I was in college. I saw him. Wow. I really thought he was really, really good. And he's sort of on TV, but I just love him as Rick Bayless in Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, his thought process about food, about healthiness, and about his teams is unparalleled.
Chicago's a great food city.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
If you haven't ever gone to Mindy's Bakery, that is a must go to.
I will remember that the next time I'm in Chicago.
I have one more. I have to go to Philly on Friday for a book event. Any recommendations for me?
So I don't know Philly that well.
I was going to say, take a brown paper bag.
Yeah. So I know there's really great restaurants there, and I can't remember. I haven't been to Philly forever, so I can't.
And any new books coming?
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this real quick.
Yeah, so
Pitmaster, this one, and is this going to make me you?
Maybe make you want to be me sometimes.
Okay.
It's really great stories. We have a bunch of great guest pitmasters in there. The great Mike Mills, who recently is deceased, and his daughter wrote the foreword. They own a place in Illinois, in Murfreesboro. We like to say it took us 5 books to write a good book. You know, that's my 6th book there, and I think the stories are really compelling, really interesting, and just darn good barbecue.
Yeah, absolutely.
When did this one come out?
This one came out a few years ago.
Great.
A few years
and
ago.
where can people get this? Can we still get it?
Any
anywhere?
seller.
Yeah.
Any seller has it.
And you have them at all the smoke
all
shops?
the locations. I'll sign them for you. You can order them online. I'll sign them, personalize them for you. Brookline Booksmith, right? I know they have it. So yeah.
Sure.
Great.
This has been so fun, Andy. I'm so glad you came in. Thanks so much. It's exciting. It's summertime. If you love barbecue, Smoke Shop is the place to go. Be sure you check it out, because we just heard there are 7 locations in the Boston area.
And if you see me at the 4.1, leave me alone. I'm right there.
Andy, thanks very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. All right. Stay with us, everybody. This is Kerrigan & Company. Longer days and warmer weather mean more time to spend outside. Are you ready to extend those days even longer with effective and efficient landscape and outdoor lighting? If so, Lucia Lighting and Design in Lynn can stretch your summer days by helping to create beautifully well-lit outdoor living spaces. The lighting experts at Lucia will work with you to plan a space that's bright, comfortable, and secure. It'll be so great you might never be inside. Get started by going to lucialighting.com, then make an appointment to visit their beautiful showroom in Lynn, Massachusetts. That's lucialighting.com. This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. A dazzling all-new production of The Wizard of Oz is on stage July 8th through the 20th. Get your tickets at nsmt.org. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company. So good to have you with us today. And, of course, keeping me company is Dave Wedge. Now, Dave, there was an iconic television show in the 70s and went into the 80s, and it was called Little House on the Prairie. I think you're of age that you would...
I remember it. My parents watched it. My oldest sister definitely watched it.
Yep.
I remember, obviously, Michael Landon was like America's dad. I remember all that. So
that is so true.
Yeah, but we watched it.
Well, let me tell you, our next guest was a prominent star on that show, and she was America's naughty girl at the time. She played Nellie Oleson on the Little House on the Prairie, and this is Alison Arngrim, and it's so great to have this fabulous actress with us today. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. Very nice of you.
Absolutely. Are you used to, at this point, being called, that nasty little girl you played?
Oh, and far worse and printable and unrippable things as well.
Well, Alison, I was telling Dave that the show, it's just amazing. The popularity that it had at the time was phenomenal. But the fact that now it's streamed in a number of places, and it's been introduced to a whole new generation and a whole lot of people my age who want to watch it again. Would you have ever thought that'd be the case?
No, it's much more popular now. And it's now, of course, streaming. We went through regular reruns, the VHS generation, the DVD generation, the Blu-ray generation. I think we're on our 6th or 7th generation of viewers.
Wow. Isn't that? I read a stat. I'm going to throw it out there, and I know you've heard this stat. 13.25 billion minutes of that program was seen in 2024.
Wow. Alison, why do you think people are rediscovering the show over and over? What is the appeal to the current generation?
I think because in the 1800s and all that helps it not date. I mean, I loved the Brady Bunch, but we identify it with the 70s and mini skirts and big daisy stickers and things. And we don't have that. There's certain themes that are eternal. And we really had a big upswing. Absolutely, during the pandemic, people were home watching the Ingalls struggle. And when you look at the show, episodes about anti-Semitism, about child abuse, you name it, we covered it, drug addiction, alcohol, and that stuff's still resonating with people now.
Yeah. I read somewhere someone was referring to it as a woke series, which I thought, oh, please, really? Okay, yeah.
We were woke. Fine. They called it woke. And now it's exploded. We had our 5th anniversary. And yeah, if you told any of us in the 70s that 51 years later, we'd be out every weekend at events and people mobbing. No, that's impossible.
Right, absolutely. But it certainly is happening. And I've had great fun following, on social media, watching some of the great events that you have been involved in and how much fun that must be for everybody who is a part of it. And of course, there's going to be a reboot. And that was just announced not too long ago. We're slowly but surely learning cast members. And that's going to pop up on Netflix. How do you feel about that?
I'm in the pro reboot camp because, it's not a reboot, to be fair, this is what's cool. If this was Marvel or Star Wars, you'd say it was a prequel. Going all the way back, the books. They just started, I think, filming episode 1. They just cast it. It's like literally just happening. But it's really good. I mean, it's the people who are doing it, all the people involved, rave Little House on the Prairie fans. These are people who grew up and love the show. It's in there. They're not people coming in going, what's Little House on the Prairie and how can we mess this up? It's not that.
Right.
What's old is new, It's a great point.
Yeah.
The show was always dated, so it's it's always the 1800s, and it's I think
it stands.
It's a great point too that during the pandemic people found it, and it was created during the Great Depression, and in those moments, those two moments specifically, people did get back to their roots. They were like, okay, I just have my family and I have where I live and I have outdoors and I have some water and I can get some food, but I can't go do stuff. So what am I going to do? And it's like, that's how those people lived. They lived without electronics, without any technology. And I think there's something very beautiful about that, especially for the Gen Z kids. I saw a thing the other day, Kim, you might have saw it, that some of the Gen Z kids are going back to using Blackberries because they don't want the iPhone. They don't want the video and all. So I think this is kind of part of that movement, and I think it's beautiful. Back to our roots. I love it.
Well, yeah, and in the 30s, people legitimately looked and said, these people have it even worse than we do. And in the 70s, and I remember in the 70s, they were talking about people not being able to afford meat. You could only buy gasoline every other day, depending on your license plate. We had whip inflation. Things were horrible in 1974. Right. And then here was the show. People were like, well, that's worse. Let's watch
I could get eaten by a bear.
Right. That's right. Exactly.
Right.
Well, Alison, let me ask you
At least we don't have typhus and track.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Let me ask you about your experience on the set. Now, first off, how old were you when you played Nellie Oleson?
I started when I was 12.
Okay.
And I got the show. I'd been working since I was about 5. And but then it was bonkers because I actually read for the part of Laura, the part of Mary. Clearly not. And so when they called me back to read, I was like, how many people are in this thing? I hadn't read the books. I had no clue. I was there till I was 19 years old. Wow. And so I started the show as a little girl starting junior high. And by the time I was done, I had gotten my braces on my teeth, my braces off my teeth, moved out of my parents' house, gotten through high school. And my character gone from being a girl in the start to be married woman with a husband, 2 kids in a hotel.
Right. Wow. Right. Wow. Absolutely. Yeah. What a transition you made during those years.
And you grew up on the set. I mean, it's funny. You were 12 and then you left. You were 19. What, did you go to school? Right. Did you have tutors? Like, how did that all work?
Yeah, well, on Little House, we were very strict about following the rules. It was, to me, glorified study hall. If you were there all the time, because both Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Sue Anderson were there in more episodes than I was, they actually had their exams and tests administered by our set teachers. But, for 3 hours a day, you were absolutely in school.
Yeah. Listen, you were out doing some touring. Talk to me a little bit about that, because you're going to be in our area.
Right? I'm coming to P-Town. I am coming to P-Town. Yeah, July 10th through 15th. There's a place called the Red Room in town, Provincetown. Yep. Fabulous club. Played there before. It's really fun. And I have 5 shows between July 10th through July 15th in P-Town at the Red Room. You can go to the room site. You can go to my page. You can go to SpinCycle, NYC.com or Arngrim.net. See the schedule. Get tickets to the Red Room. Talking about all of this. Talking about having people hate me so much as a young girl, my wacky childhood, my crazy family, growing up in Hollywood. Question and answer segment. Question and answer segment during the show. I take questions. So it's really fun. And the Red Room there in P-Town, I'll be there all week hanging out because it is a riot.
Well, you're gonna have a great time. I don't know if you've been there in the middle of July, but July is a great time there. This has been such a treat. Alison Arngrim, thank you so much for being a part of Kerrigan and Company. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
You bet. All right, everybody, stay with us. We've got lots more coming your way right here on Kerrigan and Company.
Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater whips up a twister of a tale with a magical family production of The Wizard of Oz, live on stage from July 8th through July 20th. Get tickets at nsmt.org.
Summer is here. Are you feeling and looking your summer best? If not, I've got a solution. A trip to see my friends at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly always makes me feel better. How about a hydrofacial to give you that beautiful glow? Luscious plump lips for summer parties? Or learn more about Sienna's physician-supervised weight loss program. Treat yourself this summer. Go to siennaaesthetics.com to learn more about the many treatments available. Oh, and by the way, Sienna offers a wonderful payment program. It's easy to apply right online. siennaaesthetics.com. This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa. Take years off your face with the very latest technologies at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. Well, it's that time of the show that we wrap things up, and we've had a great show. Dave Wedge keeping me company today. And, of course, Dave has written a book, and I want to show everybody the copy of the book. It's Blood and Hate. It's the story of marvelous Marvin Hagler. What a great book.
Thank you.
Are you having a good time promoting
it
this?
It is. This is the fun part. You get to share the story with people. Most importantly, I'm just excited to share the book with people, and I want people to read it this summer, and you'll learn a ton about history, about boxing, about loyalty, friendship, perseverance, and one of the greatest sports icons of my generation, certainly.
All set in Brockton, Massachusetts, which makes it just that much neater for those of us who are in this area. Are there more books on the horizon?
So yes, you may have heard my next book. I'm writing a book about the Karen Reed case.
Yeah.
I think I need my head examined for this one. But you're an old news junkie like me, and it's got all the elements that I love in a great story as well. And it's first and foremost, it's awful what the O'Keefe family's going through, and I'm gonna kind of focus on John O'Keefe as a big focus of my story, because I think it's really become the Karen Reed show, and it's become the criminal justice show, and it's more than that. It's about a cop who lost his life, and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think everyone agrees with that. So I'm going to really do my work like I do with all my books. I'm going to hit the streets, and I'm already deep into the research and the interview process, so that comes out next year.
Well, that'll be terrific, and I'm so glad to hear that you are going to shift a bit of the focus. It very much in that regard reminds me of the O.J. Simpson case, and everything was about O.J. Simpson, and the fact of the matter is there were two people who were dead when that was all said and done, and had big lives and families and loved ones.
Yeah, well, someone said to me early in this process when the book was first announced, they said, it's too bad that it's become the Karen Reed case. It should be the John O'Keefe case. And I thought about that, and I get it. Karen's, she's the woman scorned. She's the victim of, a shoddy justice system or corruption, whatever you want to say. But it's not about her.
Right.
It's about everyone, but it's really about John O'Keefe.
Yes. We do a thing here called the Fast Five. It's 5 questions, rapid fire, and you have 30 seconds to answer. Are you ready to go?
I'm not as sharp as I once was, but I'll do my best.
Oh, Dave, I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. Here we go. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to write books and movies.
Then you've done it. Good for you. Which song do you remember most from your high school prom?
Oh, boy. There was a David Lee Roth song, Times Like These, A Time of Our Life. It was a David Lee Roth song. I remember that.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
Because I know prom wasn't just yesterday. It was a couple of weeks ago.
Good Times.
Right?
It's called Good Times,
Okay, there you go.
David Lee Roth.
If you had to move to another country, which one would you choose?
Probably France.
What was your favorite book or author growing up?
Oh, boy. I read a lot of biographies. So, I mean, the book that sticks out to me the most was probably... oh my gosh, you got me here. I'm trapped.
Well, let me give you the next one.
My youth or my high school, or
you choose one. What's a book you love?
Well, in high school I loved Toni Morrison. Big Toni Morrison.
I love it. And what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Outside Providence. An incredible movie. Peter Farrelly.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful movie.
Good for you. Yeah. That's terrific. Dave, you have written, again, as we're saying, this is book number, we're going to call it 8.
8, yep.
And if you would like more information about some of the other books that Dave has written, co-authored, and they're books that you could just Google Dave Wedge and go to his page, and you're going to find all these fabulous books. And if you haven't read them in the past, be sure you do. But the latest is Blood and Hate. It's out in bookstores everywhere now. And I'm so excited for you.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
This is an exciting
one. This has been super fun. I want to come back on. I love the show.
What's the chances of me seeing this in the theater sometime?
So it is. I'm working with Sam Rockwell, Academy Award winner. He just had a great appearance on White Lotus. His wife Leslie is on White Lotus. His girlfriend, wife. I'm not sure if they're married or not. But yeah, I'm working with Sam on it, and we're deep into the process. So hopefully we'll have some big news soon.
Good. Well, when you get that big news,
deserves
you come back
a movie.
And see it does.
It's a great story, and Marvin's legacy deserves it.
Absolutely. A very complex situation. Thank you, Dave Wedge. Continued success.
Thank you, Kim.
You bet. And thank you all for being a part of this episode of Kerrigan and Company. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure you subscribe. And otherwise, please follow us on social. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Kerrigan and Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Kerrigan and Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Kerrigan and Company is David Thompson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley, and our social media managers are Grace Kerrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.